Since Golden Boy's not here, I can give you a quick, probably what he would have said in this video. There was no Charlotte. This pay-per-view sucked.
This is Big Papa Grump.
I'm Junior. The Cruiserweights suck.
We're the Board of Doom, and this is our recap of TLC 2017.
Where the Cruiserweights sucked.
So, well, that was certainly a pay-per-view. It was definitely a Raw pay-per-view. It was one of those handful of kind of bad matches, a handful of, serviceable matches, and then two really, really, really good matches. So, but we're going to start with one of the ones that was not so good. The pre-show, Sasha Banks versus Alicia Fox. Sasha Banks wins.
This sucked.
Whatever. Lol. Sasha wins.
That brings us to a very disappointing opening match between Emma and Asuka, which on paper sounds like fantastic, but then you let Emma do like 3 offensive moves and Asuka won, so it's stupid.
Yeah, it was definitely did not live up to their NXT match. Of course, in the NXT match, they weren't telling quite the same story. But, I really wanted to see more. I mean, Asuka looked fine. Asuka looked good. Emma actually looked good for the 5 moves she was allowed to do. Wasn't the great. Didn't live up to the hype. But it was, like I said, it was serviceable match. There was nothing wrong with it. There were no, ridiculous botches or anything like that. It was just dull.
I don't know if I missed it, but I didn't see a single signature out of Emma, at all. So she didn't get to really do a spot, really. Yeah,
I wanted to see Asuka in peril a little bit more.
Yeah, because Emma's really good, but they haven't really built her that way. But
yeah, so it was eh. Which brings us to another pretty dull match, actually, with a couple of good spots. That was a cruiserweight match between Cedric Alexander and Rich Swann versus the Brian Kendrick and gentleman Jack Gallagher.
Wrong team won.
Yeah, that was the one that ruined my perfect board. It was again, it wasn't overly exciting. There were a couple of good spots in it, especially from Swann and Alexander, but it just was.
Gallagher really didn't get to do anything. Kendrick, he had his moments, but it was Gallagher just kind of got beat up.
His was more character work than anything else. He didn't really get to do a whole lot in the ring.
This match sucked too.
Yeah, it was again, it was dull. There was nothing wrong with it. There were no ridiculous botches or anything like that. It's weird because the cruiserweights did not shine on the show, and usually the cruiserweights will, on a pay-per-view, the cruiserweights will steal a match. But when Neville's not around, there's not going to be as much card theft.
That brings us to the Raw Women's Championship match, which I did forget to mention was for the title on the preview, between Alexa Bliss and Mickie James. Alexa Bliss won, looked really good. This match did not suck, and Mickie James looked really good, which all around makes the match good.
Yeah, it was a, I wasn't, I don't want to say I wasn't expecting much because I know Mickie James is still good in the ring. Alexa Bliss is, every single match she gets better. But, yeah, it started slower. It picked up towards the end, and that's kind of really what you want. And yeah, and she won clean. So that's always nice to see a heel win clean. So.
And she talked about her butt.
Which brings us to the Cruiserweight title match between Kalisto and the Talentless Muppet. Enzo and the Talentless Muppet won. Poke to the eye and then whatever his finisher is called, the Talentless boot to the face. It was, but that match actually was not that bad. It wasn't great. It was, Enzo got his move in. And Kalisto got a bunch of moves in, and that was pretty much how it went.
Sucked.
Yeah, he was disappointed by it. Again, I wasn't expecting much out of an Enzo match because he's really no good in the ring. And the fact that actually it was a little bit more endearing, the fact he lost his voice, so his promo, he struggled through his promo, but he still delivered that. I'll say one thing, he is still entertaining on the mic, but he got the title back, and I'm actually kind of happy about that because I like people chasing Enzo.
Brings us to match of the year, no, sorry, the match of the night at least, between Dream Match, never thought we'd see it for maybe like another brand split or two, Finn Balor versus AJ Styles, the original club leader, and then the second Bullet Club leader. It was just like perfect storytelling and without any story. So it was a great match. They all had their spots. It was an AJ versus Finn match, so you know that's gonna be like at least 3 stars if they're both like sick with like crippling flu. So you know, like it was just gonna be a great match. And luckily they don't have the mumps. So, it was a great match. I can't say great match enough in this video.
There were 2 things at work in this match. One was the fact that it started slow and built because these are 2 guys who know what they're doing in the ring. With no time to prepare, and what they did was they knew what the story was. No one really, they kind of mentioned it a little bit, they alluded to it, but, you know, smart wrestling fans knew that you know what the story was. The first 2 leaders of, well, not really, but the first 2 high-profile leaders of the Bullet Club meeting in the ring for the first time in WWE with no build-up, no reason to be fighting, and they put on one of the best matches of the year. And you know, it was a lot of fun. AJ got his stuff in. Finn won clean with a kind of a bad coup de grace. It was like the
Not
one
so
bad
clean
moment,
coup de grace.
but you know, it's a move like that. You know, you don't land it perfect every time, and the right guy won because, especially considering going forward, it sounds like they're positioning Finn for Brock Lesnar soon, so to be eaten. And but yeah, but again, before we get to ahead and start looking ahead, let's look at this match, which was everything you wanted, except you wanted it to be longer. And that was the thing. I wanted this match to keep going. And very few times this year have I had a match where I wanted it to just keep going. And when it was over, and it was like, that was great. And, you know, it was, they told the story they needed to tell. So throughout the evening, you had Elias trying to come out and do his song, and Jason Jordan with his new gimmick, which apparently is throwing vegetables at guys the fans want. First of all, Elias is getting real crowd heat, which is awesome, because the crowd, you could tell they appreciate what he's doing, and they're giving him the reaction he's supposed to get, which is brilliant. I was talking to Golden Boy during the pay-per-view about how I love Elias's facial expressions while he's going, because he's just really good facial actor. And what?
He should be like right here.
So then you put Jason Jordan in where, you know, they had an interaction prior to the show, and he kind of got insulted by Elias, and so he came out and he was throwing vegetables. He had a shopping cart full of produce, which was just hilarious. And the crowd was behind him. Jason Jordan, at least in that moment, was, you know, getting over with the crowd. And that happened they did it again, and the same result, and then they had a match. And Jason Jordan wins, which is fine, because it looks like they're starting a feud with these 2. And I think they've got enough chemistry together, judging from like this one small sample size that they can build on, that it could actually be pretty entertaining. It could be something that gets Jason Jordan over with the crowd organically, which is, no pun intended with the produce, which is exactly what you want to happen. So,
yeah, they had a good back and forth. Like, you know, each had their moments in that match. And, you know, I mean, you could have gone either way. Elias had a couple like, oh my gosh, he killed him moments, but you know, things happened. It was decent. And it's just, you know, it's a good stepping stone for the 2 if they're going to build a longer feud. I mean, they could just pull a Vince and be like, who the heck are these guys? That brings us to the main event, which was the Shield and Kurt Angle, or I guess you could just say the Shield because of the entrance, and the Miz with the Bar, and then Braun Strowman and Kane. And it was kind of cool to see Kurt Angle in the Shield gear. I thought that was decent. He came out to with the Shield. Like, he did it first, but they were kind of standing there. And then you just see, like, this smiling goofball come behind him. And
he looked so happy to be there. It was great.
There. And then, so you go through the match. And, the Shield started out pretty strong, started beating up all 5 of them. And then they did a double jump off the ladder where they hit Kane and Braun Strowman through tables, back and forth a little bit before that. And then Kurt Angle had a really cool spot where he went through a table and left, which I always hate when people leave, but it's like, okay.
Because they're coming back.
And it's like, or either that, or it basically tells you there's going to be a return. So then you go through all that, and then the Bar, Miz, Taraj, Strowman, Demon all beat up Seth and Dean for like 60 minutes. Where we don't know if Kurt Angle broke his hip, had to pop back inside. He just is gone. And then they have a moment with Kane and Braun where Kane earlier accidentally hit Braun, and then I guess Kane got pissed off and started beating up Braun for no reason, it seemed.
Yeah, it was a little weird. But yeah, and then they threw Braun into the back of a trash truck and closed it, and he went away. Angle made his triumphant return.
With his theme song,
so the crowd got to "You Suck Him." And then it was, as you would predict, the Shield ended up winning. And it was a lot of fun. There were some really good spots. It was a little weird seeing Angle in the Shield gear for a while, but then you kind of got used to it.
I mean, he couldn't win with the ankle lock because he couldn't.
Yeah, but
strap on.
They ended up doing the triple power bomb to the Miz to get the win after everybody else had been killed.
Yeah, they basically killed everybody. Then they hit. Then Seth Rollins stole Kenny Omega's move
again.
Then Dean stole Dean's move. I don't know. It's just a DDT that people oversell. And then Angle slammed Miz. So.
Yeah, and then they did the triple power bomb.
So it was cool
and Angle did instead of doing ooh-ah, he just went oh. So it's like, okay, cool. But yeah, it was entertaining. This was one of those pay-per-views where the end of the pay-per-view saved the event because the first 5 matches were dull. But at the end of the pay-per-view, I was like, that was fun to watch because the last 2 of the last 3 matches were really, really fun to watch and or masterpieces. So it was, it was. I didn't mind it, but yeah, the undercard was just. Bleh.
Well, by the way, Bullet Club. WWE can do the 2 Sweet. You can't.
Yeah. That was a nice moment at the end where AJ and Balor did the 2 Sweet thing, and then yay, everybody's like ha ha ha, smarks. Okay, start my phone time. So that was TLC. I won. I had 6 out of 7 right. Wife of Doom, Junior, Big Shez, and Uppercut each had 5. Doom and Golden Boy had 4. And Truth had 3. Truth had a lot of weird picks. If you saw him before, he picked Alicia Fox. Yeah, really, Alicia Fox was just this really weird one.
Because he sucks too!
So yeah, and then that brings the total standings. I'm still in first place with 50. Wife of Doom and Uppercut are still tied, but I put a point worth of distance between us, so they've got 48. Golden Boy and CJ Truth are tied now with 42. Junior's coming for you both. He's back in the hunt at 40. Big Shez has 39, but of course his is pretty much always going to have an asterisk now because he missed the last pay-per-view. And Little Doom got 32. She actually had a bounce back because she had a terrible pay-per-view last time. So there's that. That was TLC, and stuff happened. Wasn't a great night. A lot of dull matches until the end. That's about it. All right, so I've been Big Papa Grump.
I've been Junior.
We've been the Board of Doom, and catch you next time.
Top presenting out. The Cruiserweight division is a joke. There is no definitive champion. It goes back and forth every other pay-per-view. Neville won it, lost it, won it, lost it. He held it for 6 months and he lost it, won it, Then Enzo lost it, won it back. It's a joke. There's nobody, you hold the belt for a minute. So, yay for you. Hey, look, you're a Cruiserweight champion. That means nothing. This
think
division sucks.
now that Neville walked out, and if he actually does end up getting his release, or if he comes back, but it's kind of the cruiserweights are in a bit of a state of flux right now. They'll settle it. It'll settle a little bit, because when the cruiserweight division started, they did kind of hot potato the title a little bit too. And then once they got into a rhythm, it settled down.
Well, they finally got talent, which was Neville.
Right now it's I do like the idea of the Enzo faction and all that. So
their talent is wasted. I haven't seen T.J. Perkins on TV in like a year. Rich Swann's like just a joke now. Cedric Alexander's not getting anything. Brian Kendrick finally starting to get back. Jack Gallagher is like he's Mary Poppins as a heel. Like, you have Enzo as your champ. Callisto's Callisto. He's not a true cruiserweight. I mean, like, what you would have to do is you would have to move, like, Balor over there, get Ricochet as soon as possible, bring Will Ospreay. It's just a joke.